Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build at Home. I'm your host, Matt Forte, and I'm coming to you from my home, as is our next guest, who I'm very excited to talk to. But before we get started, something incredibly important. Kids in need have missed more than 234 million meals at school due to closures from Corona. With NoKidHungry.org, we're helping schools and community groups find new ways to feed these kids, which is great news, but we need your support. So check out NoKidHungry.org to see how you can help. If you have a little bit to give, it is a great place to give to. So NoKidHungry.org. Go ahead and check that out. All right, our next guest is Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer at Verizon. She's also a board member with the Lumina Foundation and with Cornell's Center for Advanced HR Studies. And on top of all that, she's been appearing daily on Verizon's Up to Speed web broadcast, keeping everyone inside and around Verizon informed in these crazy times. Please welcome back a friend of the show, the great Christy Pambianchi is here once again. Christy, how are you doing?
I'm great, Matt. Thanks so much for having me on Build today. It's great to be out here talking to all the folks that follow your show, and really happy to discuss everything that's going on and how we're trying to cope.
Thank you so much. We're excited to have you. Thank you for being there, as it were, and being here with us live. I'm so excited to have you on the show because I've been watching every day, and I don't think I'm alone when I say that I admire and am deeply curious about your epic wall of portraits and photographs behind you. We see it every day on Up to Speed, and I'm excited to get into that. First and foremost, Christy, how are you doing? How's the family holding up? How has this crazy time been for you guys?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think it's an unprecedented time. I have 4 kids. 2 of them were at college. They got sent home from college. I have 2 kids in school, in high school and middle school, that are on their official spring break, but starting online classes on Monday.
Okay.
And so I think a new normal for all of us. And then my husband and I both working from home in different parts of the house. So we've all got kind of areas where we're set up to not be interrupting each other. We kind of meet up for about 20 minutes in the middle of the day for lunch and then get back to our workstation. So definitely finding ways to adjust to the new normal. And then I had a family calendar on the wall and there's literally nothing on it. And I thought, wow, this is like the first time since the dawn of time I can remember we had no evening or weekend commitments to take our kids to, or that we had with family, because everybody's quarantining.
It's wild. Did you say your 2 college-age kids, they're home now? They had to come back?
Yeah, their schools closed for the rest of the semester. Dorms were closed. They had to empty everything out. They had a deadline to get out. One is quarantining in his apartment where he was on campus, and the other is back here at the house, and he's already in online college.
Got it. Okay, so they're doing online classes over there, and then your other kids, they're starting online classes next week, you said, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to be facilitating any of those classes? I've talked to a lot of people that are just kind of learning how the homeschooling thing works now and figuring all that out. Like, what's going to be your level of involvement there?
Yeah, I'm not really sure yet. My 7th grader told me he was good. He could do school on his phone. And I told him I didn't think that was what the school had in mind. So he's enjoying the last of his break right now. And so we'll see. My other son is studying trumpet. So he's doing trumpet lessons and jazz groups online, and they're kind of figuring their way out to do that with college and video delays and performances together. So I think lots of facets of society are kind of figuring this out.
I am immensely impressed that I am yet to hear one bit of trumpet in the background of any of your broadcasts.
Yeah, we have a vertical house, so I'm at the very, very top floor, and he's at the bottom floor.
At the bottom. Oh my God, it's so hilarious too. You talk about how everybody's kind of
plays about 4 hours a day.
Did you really? Oh my goodness. I guess you're grateful for that, being that in that top portion then, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it's so funny. So my wife and I were both working from home, working remotely, and we only have like a 1-bedroom like studio apartment kind of thing, but we found these like corners of the space. Like, this is and then like the kitchen's the common area. That's where we come together and we all touch base. Exactly. Have you guys been with having more of the family in the house and everyone around? Sure, the calendar's empty, but have you been having like fun movie nights, game nights? Like, how's everybody coming together at night?
So we started a list of movies that we want to watch while we're in this situation. I'm a big gamer. We play a lot of games. So there's been a fair amount of chess with my son, who beats me pretty much every time. He's in 7th grade. But we love Settlers of Catan, Scrabble, cards, big card players. So we're doing a lot of that. And then actually I have 3 sisters. And so Sunday nights we're having Sister Scrabble, video conference. So we're
That's
trying to
fun.
do like an hour of connection. And so we're just trying to find new ways to stay connected. We have some neighbors that we can't visit right now. So we're trying to see if we can get games like Jackbox to work across our TVs.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's becoming IT experts now, like trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to get all these things to work. You guys doing movie nights? A big ship to turn with that many people in the family. You got to all agree on one thing. Has it been possible?
Well, we've kept it pretty light. I feel like I'm dealing with,
You have to.
a lot of stress and a lot of folks on the front line and trying to do everything we can to do right for our employees. So I've definitely kept it light to comedies and some pretty light content.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second because Verizon is a massive company. You have retail employees, you have field engineers, you have Verizon Media, and you have all of us working in entertainment. Like everyone does something. Have you
Right.
seen like a through line, a universal thing that regardless of position or who we are, that people have reached out to you with something that has connected everybody right now?
I would say that's a great question. And one of the things I love about Verizon is people have a really strong affinity with the mission and the purpose of the company about really delivering these networks that, connect the world and allow people to move forward, as our slogan has it. And so that's definitely what I see coming through. People asking me a lot of questions about how can I help? How can I, participate? Here's some things I'm worried about for my coworker. A lot of people write me about other people, not always about themselves, and really speaks to just the spirit of camaraderie and we're in this together in the company. So I think that's definitely one thing. And I think we've gotten a lot of employees who are dealing with this new normal, whether
Yeah.
it's having to have their family in the house doing school or trying to support their customers by home on the phone,
Yeah.
trying to write their content, trying to keep data centers operational, trying to keep our customers, our field visits and things like that to sort of the essentials only. So really we're kind of trying to find our way through it. And one thing that's underlying all of it is this just strong spirit of our workforce wanting to make sure that we're living up to our purpose. And in a crisis, there is so many nations around the world calling on the telecommunications infrastructure, the internet infrastructure to help society find new ways of going forward and help us from keeping the economy established. And so I think some really cool things that were on the Yahoo platform last night, like our Dave Matthews
Pay it
content,
forward. Yeah.
really focused on small business. And he gave so many real examples to what that means when the barbers and the small restaurants and things like that can't operate. And I think every family is touched by that. I have a sister that's a nurse. I have a sister-in-law and a brother-in-law that own restaurants. And I'm sure every family has a connection to that. So I think we're very fortunate here at Verizon that we're able to keep as much moving forward. We've got over 110,000 people now working from home that literally inside of a week, we've moved that from what was 4,000 people whose jobs were designed from home for our home-based agents to now, literally it was 112,000 yesterday and growing. So I'm amazed by our ability to come together and work toward a common goal. And that's why we keep the dialogue open. The suggestions are coming in and we really try to act on those. And it's
Yeah.
changing every day.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
there's also a real need to keep a really open dialogue loop going with our workforce so that they can be giving us better ways and ideas for things we didn't consider for how to support our employees in this difficult time, as well as how to allow people to continue to contribute. And that's one of the things I definitely know from our employees and even from family members is people don't want to just be idle. They want to find ways to contribute, add value, even if it's outside the norm of their role, or even volunteering. So we'll have more next week about ways in which our people can volunteer. And so I think for me, the heart of humanity comes through with all the V-teamers I get to interact with.
Yeah, there was a great quote at the end of yesterday's Up to Speed. I can't remember who it was attributed to, but it was essentially like the bark of the dog and the sound of a child in the background. Like it's part of your humanity in these and it's a beautiful thing, and I welcome it. And it's a beautiful part of the process. What has been the biggest adjustment for you at home as we all navigate this new normal? What has been that process for you, finding that and figuring that out?
Yeah, that was Craig Silliman. He's our
Thank you, Craig.
head of public policy, government affairs, and supply chain. A really great colleague and leader. And I thought his personal sentiments were so timely and really struck a chord with a lot of us. And so
Yeah, I
for me,
butchered his beautiful quote. You should look it up. It's way more eloquent and well said when he did
no,
it. Yeah,
I'm
but
sure you'll be excited though. It really stuck with people. And I think
yeah,
what I've been trying to do with my own HR team, I have 4 kids. Those are actually what all those pictures are in the background. They're a little bit older now. My youngest is 13, my oldest is 20. But I had 4 kids under 7 at one point in my life doing a job like this. And so life happens. And I actually think that's a really awesome piece of our evolution, because I think for us as Verizon to continue to evolve, bringing the human part of everybody's life together with their professional life allows people to find another gear and allows people to reconcile all the parts of their life. And obviously with the right boundaries and privacy that people would like to have, but for different people, that line is drawn in different places. And so I think for us, I think this is a really great, opportunity to continue to find new ways for us to connect, not only as employees, but as fellow citizens of the world and community members. And to me, that's very exciting. I'm an extrovert. I really value relationships with my coworkers, and I love working for Verizon, but I also think people work for people. So as much as we work for Verizon and we love the mission of all the various units and functions we support, we also work with each other, and we want to work with people that we're inspired to work with, or people that make us better, or people that really appreciate who we are as a whole person. And so I feel actually this crisis, while it's causing social distancing as a way to fight this disease, in a way it's bringing us closer, which is counterintuitive.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about this last night. I have a family on the West Coast that I traditionally I don't see in person very often to begin with, but we're actually like FaceTiming and Zooming and Google. We're doing all that kind of more now because it's become
Yeah.
so routine, and now we're just connecting with people more than we did before, almost, which was really funny to me. I was like, in a way, you're right. It is kind of bringing us together. It's interesting.
Yeah. And I think
Hmm.
that's a really fun thing about it. I'm always, because, and one of the things that I heard Governor Cuomo say on one of his press releases this week really struck with me, which is that there is great uncertainty and there's a lot of things to be concerned about. But there also are a lot of things that we should stop and pause and recognize that we could be optimistic about as well. And finding the good and recognizing the danger is a really important way of dealing with the current situation that we're in. And I think this byproduct of people using technology and finding ways to stay connected is really great.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be tenets of this that we come away with and go, hey, you know what? We didn't maybe previously think we could connect with our friends or our customers this way or deliver our products this way. But maybe some of this will stick with us, and this will drive its own innovation. So I think that's kind of exciting.
I'm actually excited to hear you say that, because one of the questions I had was, I know right now we're focused on the present, and we're in crisis mode, and we're doing everything we can to support each other and going day by day. But has there been any time for conversations yet on your side about the future of what things look like on the other side? Will more people, you think, look for the opportunity to work from home now that they know that they can? Like, what do you guys think it's going to look like when we make it to the other side of this thing?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we are asking ourselves that. And I think each of the business leaders is beginning to form some project teams. There's a group of us working on the here and now, the 24-hour response to what's going on. And then we also have teams formed to start to look at, okay, and then what's going to happen 2-3 months from now, and what of the things we're learning here are going to make sense to keep. And we'll want a lot of employee input on that. And I think it allowed us, we had this whole, in our leadership edge and our journey as a company to Verizon 2.0 and the future we put forth for ourselves, we had this whole concept of what are our orthodoxies and how do we attack orthodoxies and how do we become agile. And so the folks on the L&D team are going to be creating some podcasts and some content for our platforms to really highlight this happening in action. It's happening real time. Our employees are being agile every day. They're finding ways to do things they never thought were possible. And to me, that's really exciting. So I've said, go out, capture those stories. Let's keep sharing them. And we're dealing with our customers. We're dealing with product development. We're dealing with service calls in ways that we didn't think were possible. No. And I think that's pretty exciting. And I think we want to make sure we don't lose all of that. So I think when we do go back to, we're in this new normal, however long we stay in this state. And as we evolve back to as shelters in place get relinquished and as people start to open up society again, I think there'll be lots of the old ways we operated that will return because we miss each other and we like
Yeah.
the direct contact. But there'll be a lot of other things we're able to do that we say, you know what, maybe we did it better in the way we were operating. And maybe all those orthodoxies we were carrying around, some of them we could put on the shelf.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, it's a scary time. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I think you're right. There is something to be said for taking a moment to, one, find the silver lining, and two, to learn as much as we can from this incredibly unique, crazy experience.
Yeah.
You mentioned something yesterday I caught on Up to Speed, and you just mentioned it now, just a little bit more before we get out of here. I'm a big podcast guy, so I was excited to hear there's some new podcast content coming. Can you tell a little bit more about what that is and what can we expect there?
Yeah, so we're doing this great collaboration with media and the HR team to develop like a My Edge TV series. And with the last few weeks and the likely next couple of weeks to come, I met with the team, curating and producing that. And they were kind of thinking about how would they do that in this time. And I said, one of the things we were thinking about originally is it would run from January to June with an episode dropping every 2 weeks. And the thing we're talking about now is let's shift that to be from June till the end of the year, and we could still drop an episode every 2 weeks. And from right now for April, May, June, let's pivot and do live capture of My Edge in action and really get the stories and talk to folks throughout all of the company and get examples of how they're serving customers in new ways, how they're bringing all of the elements of the 2.0 culture to life and all of these new ways of working. And let's not miss the window to capture history while it's happening. And so they're working on that right now. We just locked that in earlier this week. And so I would expect hopefully in the next week or so, we'll start to run some of that.
Very, very cool. Well, I know you're incredibly busy and you've got a million things to do, so I'm going to let you get out of here. But before we do, I want to remind everyone watching, I started the show with NoKidHungry.org, and I just want to mention it one more time. Check out NoKidHungry.org. Verizon Up to Speed happens daily at noon, and actually they just launched a new morning Up to Speed as well, where there's some great conversations happening there, and you can find the best way to check that out is on Twitter. I believe, help me out, Christy, VZ Up to Speed, I believe, right?
Correct.
There we are. Perfect.
VZ Up to Speed, and it's on Twitter, Insta. It's also accessible on the webpage, Verizon.com.
Absolutely awesome. Christy, thank you so much. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
I just want to give a great shout out to all of the viewers of the Build series and also the V-teamers out there. Your feedback and your engagement means so much to us, and we're just continuing to become better as we go based on all your input.
Awesome. Christy, well, thank you again so much for being here and hanging out with us. We appreciate everything you guys are doing to keep us informed and keep us in the loop. Check out VZ Up to Speed. Thank you once again, everybody, wherever you are. Join me in thanking Christy Pambianchi for being here. Thanks, Christy.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Bye.